Hey there Facebook, it is Vanessa here again, your motivational speaker, trainer and head coach from Live, Love, Give. And today I have a question for you guys, which is ultimately, what would be the leverage to keep you accountable to your long-term success? And I really wanted to talk about this because of a couple of different reasons. Number one is that what I noticed when I went away and I had a bit of a break, because I went to Date with Destiny and then straight after the event, I flew home and it takes a couple of days and I need a couple of days recovery to get back on track. And ultimately what happened was a bunch of my clients all had a very similar experience in terms of kind of falling off the wagon when they didn't have our sessions. And so it's been a main focus for me. It was a kind of a wake-up call, because the very last thing that I ever want to do with my coaching clients is create a relationship of dependency, but ultimately we struggle. We as human beings will oftentimes do more for another than we will do for ourselves. And so I definitely saw that, these coaching clients of mine struggling with their own self-accountability and self-reliance. It was a bit of a wake-up call to me to say, okay, how am I contributing to this dependency in this coaching dynamic? And my ultimate goal is to, shine the light on the pathway for my clients whilst they need it in the very beginning. But the ultimate goal is to work with them for a short period of time and to get them to such a state of empowerment that they boldly charge that path themselves and they don't need me holding the light anymore. And so that was kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to bring today's message to you. And the other one was because I was listening again to that podcast I mentioned a couple of days ago, Waking Up with Sam Harris. And today's episode that I listened to, he was actually interviewing an amazing guy who I find extraordinarily interesting. His name is AJ Jacobs. Not sure if you've heard of him. He kind of is like a journalist, and he sort of puts himself on the line in terms of going on these kind of experiments in different realms. And he's really just fascinating. He's a really great guy. And I loved hearing this episode. I've heard him interviewed many times, but this one on the Sam Harris podcast, Waking Up podcast, that I absolutely love, was brilliant. And what he spoke into, a couple of the different things that he spoke into, were ways that he actually keeps himself accountable. And it really brought up the message that I wanted to deliver for you guys today, which is that ultimately our lasting success is generated when we discover the kind of leverage that holds us accountable to our own word, to ourselves, and allows us to self-sufficiently stay on track towards the attainment of our goals. So that being said, I wanted to share with you a couple of his examples that I thought were really interesting, ways of keeping the self accountable to your word, to your, to your goals and dreams and aspirations. And before I get into his examples, ultimately, this has also been my experience that when we shift from a short-term instant gratification mindset to a long-term, long-term sustainable success mindset, that's when it makes all of the difference. But we've got to have leverage. We've got to have ways that, motivate us in order to stay in that long-term mindset where we have an expanded range of our life, where we're, viewing into the future, and we're not just handballing to our future self the responsibilities of today. We're actually trying to be kind to our future self. And this will be really relevant for you if you're somebody who feels like you get excited by the new goal and the new thing that you're going to do. But then, you kind of fall off track and you kind of feel like you take one step forward, two steps back, and, that sort of way of being. And also, if you feel like you're just lacking that commitment and that discipline, and you really wish that, you could just absolute guarantee that everything that you said you wanted to do and that you were going to move towards, you actually did. You had that level of trust and belief in yourself and commitment to your word. You had such integrity with your word. I know that, that's something that I want more and more of, and I know the power of it. And, leverage for me is, definitely, I realize the fact, and I've had the experience that, the more I stay true to the word that I speak, the more I build trust within myself, and therefore the more I stay on track and don't distract myself with instant gratification, because I actually believe that I can attain what I say I'm going to do because I follow through and do it. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I've come a long, long way with this, particularly coming from an aspect of, being a people pleaser and saying yes to everything and then figuring out later, well, I can't actually be in every place or do everything at the same time, and then therefore you lose integrity with your word. I've come a long way in shifting out of that, because I know that when you don't stay with integrity with your word, you lose trust for yourself, and therefore you diminish your opportunities to reach a new level of your potential. But let me get into the couple of really great examples that AJ Jacobs spoke into, in ways of him being accountable and finding leverage within himself to stay on track with his goals and dreams and aspirations. But one of them was really cool. I liked this idea, and it was being like what I just spoke to you guys about a moment ago in terms of being more kind to your future self. Well, what he actually did was, one of those apps where you can go on, you can put up one of your photos and it'll actually age it for you. What he did was he used one of those aging apps. He put his photo in, he aged it, and he printed out the result. And then with that, he stuck that picture on at his desk, so where he looks at it every single day. And he said that it absolutely helps him stay on track in terms of making decisions based on being kind to his future self, making his future self thankful for the things that he's doing and the decisions that he's making today. And he really said that, because it personifies your future self, it's not like, it'll all work out. It's like you're looking at your future self and you can personify it. You can build relationship with that future self. You're seeing it, the mind works in pictures. And he really said that was hugely beneficial for him. And, it kind of works how I would work with my clients who need to go back into the past and forgive themselves. Part of what I would do is get them to do the opposite end of the spectrum and find a picture of themselves as a child, and actually, have that somewhere that you can look at it and rewire your brain to see your innocence and your inherent lovability. So you can use these sort of pictures of the self in terms of the past self for self-forgiveness in the way that I would use it with clients, and building that self-love with a picture of your past self, a picture of you as a child. Or you can do what AJ Jacobs is saying, and that's what really this message is all about, in terms of holding yourself accountable with leverage from your future self, personifying it by using one of these aging apps. I'm going to go do it. I think it'd be interesting to do, and having that aged picture of yourself that you can ultimately have sort of looking at you, reminding you of the future that you're yet to live into, and making your decisions based on that. And then the second accountability measure that he uses as leverage, it does involve another person, but I still think it's a really, really good one. Ultimately, I really want to encourage you guys to find self-sufficient accountability and leverage where it's not relying on others. But I know human nature is, like I said earlier, to oftentimes do more for others than we'll actually do for ourselves. But with this particular next example that he gave, it was ultimately that if you do not follow through on your word, so you find somebody that you trust, like he used his wife as the example. So he told his wife, hey, if I don't follow through on my word and my commitment on this thing that I want to move toward, then I have to donate $100 to a charity. And it's not just any old charity. what he would call an anti-charity, which is a charity that you absolutely hate. And the example that he used was I think it was like the American Nazi group or charity or whatever. And so it would be a charity that you would hate to donate to, and you have to give them $100, and somebody that you trust who's keeping you accountable is going to make you do that if you don't follow through on your word. That was another accountability strategy that he used, which I thought was just slightly different. And I just think, we all hear about these ways of keeping yourself accountable, but I think it's really important. And I think that there is no greater journey. Well, that it's up there, all right? It's one of the top journeys that you can go on in terms of discovering what your unique personal leverage is that will definitely hold you as an individual accountable to reaching and attaining those things that you say you want to attain in your life. And I think that it's really, really powerful. I think it's really, really beneficial. So I want to ask you, that's why I wanted to name this particular Facebook Live, what would be that leverage for you for your long-term success? And if you don't have an answer to that, I encourage you to make that your goal. Make it your goal. Look for the leverage. What is it going to take? And ideally find some leverage points that are completely self-reliant and self-sufficient. So, not attached to anybody else having to do something to keep you accountable, but actually what inside of you would keep you accountable to your long-term success. And I'm absolutely hoping that today's message is resonating with you guys, and it's getting you thinking about, okay, yes, I've been falling off the wagon with the things that I say that I want to attain, and I don't want to do that anymore. And I know New Year's is around the corner, so New Year's resolutions, what better time than to now, before you set those New Year's resolutions, find those ways that you can be self-sufficiently leveraged in your accountability. So I hope that this inspires you to go on that journey between now and New Year's. I think this is the perfect spot of time for you to discover what that leverage point is going to be for you. And do what AJ Jacobs, give this a go. I'm going to give it a go to go and find one of those aging apps and get a picture of yourself, print it out, put it somewhere where you see it every day, and make your decisions based on being kind to that future self. All right, so definitely want to check in with you guys and see who's been able to join me. If you've got any questions or comments or feedback, make sure that you drop them below for me to engage with you right now. And before I jump into the chat room, like always, I want to make sure that I'm not letting anybody slip through the cracks, and you are definitely coming on over and joining us in the Limitless Potential Inner Circle Facebook community. If you want to be surrounded by beautiful, like-minded individuals who are committed to their own personal growth and their contribution to you and the world, then ultimately you got to come and join us over there. And we want to support, encourage, and challenge you to grow to your next level of your potential. So definitely click on the link above and join us. And I have got Jessica and Alexandria and Hassani and Stephen. Awesome to see you. And I'm loving your hashtag happiness, Alexandria. And Judy's here, and Luke and Fazia and Melita and Gary and Jason from Colombia. I love it. And Merry Christmas to you, Stephen. Thank you so much. And Jess, the only way to not fall off is to never get off. We 7 days here at JMC will never will it stop. I love it, Jess. And yeah, definitely. But you know what? We're human beings and we do fall off the bandwagon, it's part of what happens, and it's not so much about not falling off as it is about getting back on, not being defeated when you do fall off. You're gonna slip up, and when we have this expectation that we will always do it perfectly, that's oftentimes what is the excuse that keeps people limited and small, and when they fall off, they give up. So lower the expectations and definitely focus on every time you get back on the wagon. If you do fall off, then that is what generates higher levels of courage and confidence, and definitely belief and trust within the self. So appreciate you being here, Jess. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. And Richard and Michael and Joey and Angela and Asha. And much love to you there, Adrian. And Ashish is here. And Quimuden, and Gabrielle, and Jamal, and Michael, and Khaled, and William, and Marco, and Linda. I love this, Vanessa. We deserve the best we can do for ourselves. Absolutely. And I'm loving that that's resonating with you, Linda. And Helen, and Billy, and Nancy, and Stella, and Aileen, and Suyan, and John. Hello, Vanessa. I love the work that you do. Oh, thank you so much for those kind and beautiful words there, John. You are super appreciated. I'm so grateful that you're finding value here. And Cheyenne, and Adrian, and Tezen. Thank you, Vanessa. It was helpful. God bless you, and Merry Christmas. And wishing you the same, Tezen. Thank you so much for being here. And Hassani, hi V, just making sure I understand, is the age picture that he used an example of a leverage strategy to keep himself accountable? Absolutely, yes, spot on, Hassani. So what it is that, you know, taking that picture of yourself as an aged version of yourself, you know, down the timeline as that future self, he definitely used it to stay accountable to his dreams, you know, because he's setting these goals and dreams, you know, and your goals and your dreams are always out there in the future that you're working toward. So your future self, you know, you're making the decisions. Hey, is my future self going to be proud of me? Is it going to get the result that I'm chasing here with this decision that I make? Or am I going to choose instant gratification for the moment, which is going to be detrimental to my future self feeling this success? So hope that resonated and made sense. Hassani, let me know if it didn't. And thank you so much for the question as always. And Adrian, Merry Christmas to you. And I love it. And Caroline and Liam. Hi, Vanessa. Using the younger pick of yourself is very powerful. I've been using this method, having recently moved back in with my parents. Awesome. Very powerful tool of motivation. Also use the pick as reference for asking, how would my future son benefit from this? I love it. Pretty wishy-washy, but does the trick. Absolutely, Liam. And I love that you use that process. There is so much power. And I've heard the beautiful Christine Hassler, who wrote the book Expectation Hangover, and I've absolutely had the pleasure of getting to interview. She's a beautiful human being. And I know that part of her book, you know, she actually advises people to get a picture of your past self, your child, you as a child. I think she says like a 5-year-old child, and carry it in your purse or your wallet, and just to remind yourself, you know, you remind yourself of, you know, your lovability, your innocence, and get reattached to that. And yeah, I love that, Liam. And you brought up a really great point, and one that I always use as leverage with clients or people that I chat to who I'm helping through a decision or a transition, who have children, because, you know, they have such unconditional love for their child, but they don't have that same level of unconditional love for themselves. So, you know, when they're faced with a decision to make, and oftentimes they find themselves in an unhealthy dynamic that they're not sure where to go with this, I always use the leverage of, if your child, if your daughter or your son was in this same position that you're in right now, and oftentimes it's a relationship challenge, and they were coming to you for advice, what advice would you give them? It is so beautiful, because what happens is you get to the unconditional advice and leverage from yourself that you can use. And ultimately, kids are always great leverage for, you know, people, you know, doing the good thing for themselves right now, so that they get time with their children and can be a great example and role model for their children as well. So I love that you brought that into the conversation, Liam. I so appreciate you sharing your experience here. And Taralisa, thanks for being here. And Sam and Tim, thank you, Vanessa. I have to find someone I can trust to keep accountable in making a commitment to myself in following through with my actions. There are plenty of mockers that would love to see me fail. Yeah, and Tim, that's why, you know, it is so super powerful to find that person in your life that you know, like, and trust, and you know that they are committed to your success. You know, they're not looking to laugh at your failures. I love that, and I'm wishing you the best of luck in finding that person. And if you don't have that person, remember, that is part of the beauty of the Limitless Potential Inner Circle Facebook community. We are all there because we want to see you succeed. Your success is is our success and vice versa. If you have that mentality, then you've got to come on over and join us in the Limitless Potential Inner Circle Facebook community. And I definitely invite you to help us keep you accountable. Show us how we can support you in that group there, Tim. We'd love to help you. And Fazia's here, and Lombardo, Merry Christmas to you, and you're so welcome, and thanks for being here. And Mark, happy holidays to you, and Julie's here, and Ismail, and Sam. I'm loving that you're finding this a powerful message, and much gratitude to you. And Ivan, and Merry Christmas, Brian. Thank you for all that you do. You make a difference. Oh, thank you so much, Brian. And I so appreciate you showing up and, following along for so long. I super appreciate you. Thanks, Brian. And Adrian, big hug to you as well. And Hassani, yes, it does make sense. Thank you. I think I'll use a combination of the older picture along with the short paragraph describing myself 10 years from now. Awesome. Who I am, what I've accomplished, etc. That way I'll stay committed to that whole picture and stay on track. That's awesome. And thanks so much for sharing that with us all, Hassani. And that which you share so freely is actually pure gold. Oh, thank you so much, Hassani. I so appreciate you too. And I always appreciate you sharing your words of wisdom and experience, and with all of us, it's inspiring. So thank you. And Neo Vio, thanks for being here. And Emmanuel, Merry Christmas to you. And Luke's here. Merry Christmas, Sam. And Ricardo, thanks for being here. And Hassan. Awesome, guys. Well, it is so amazing. I always so love connecting with you guys, and I so appreciate your questions, you engaging with me and joining the conversation. You are absolutely appreciated, and I'm really hoping that today's message has definitely motivated you to find that self-sufficient leverage point for you in order to generate long-term success, the long-term success that your future self deserves. Mandy, thanks for all the support throughout the year. Absolutely, Sam and Mandy and Sam, much love to you. You guys are absolutely beautiful. You always rock my world, so thank you for that. And I'm absolutely sending you all my love, light, blessings, gratitude, energy, enthusiasm, everything extraordinary that I could possibly wish for you for wherever you are in the world today. I hope it's absolutely brilliant, and I cannot wait to see you guys tomorrow. If you have any strategies for keeping yourself accountable, we would all love to hear from you. So please come on over in the Limitless Potential Inner Circle Facebook community and let us know. We would love to learn from you and test out some of the strategies that you know. So definitely do that. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Sending you all of my love.